Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi, hello everyone. This is Riszha from Research Methodology in Linguistics 2019 B class. So yeah, in this video, I'm going to introduce and explain the most common concepts, frameworks, and issues of quantitative methods. As you can see in the screen, the title that I have today is Quantitative Methods, Concepts, Frameworks, and Issues. Yeah, this is the table of content today. Number one, the differences between quantitative and qualitative research. Number two, the basic concepts of quantitative research. Number three, the frameworks of quantitative research. And the last but not least is the issues of quantitative research. So yeah, in this slide, I'm only I only want to highlight and recall our brief understanding of the differences between quantitative and qualitative research that had been explained at previous meeting. So the first point, the quantitative research deals with numbers and statistics, and mostly quantitative research is expressed in numbers, graphs, charts, and numeric data, while the qualitative research deals with words and meanings. And mostly qualitative research expressed in words. The second point, the common quantitative methods include experiments, observation which recorded as number, and surveys with close-ended questions. While the qualitative research, the common method includes interviews with open-ended questions, observation which describe in words, and literature reviews that explore concepts and theories. Briefly, the quantitative research focuses on how much or how many there is or there are of a particular characteristic of or item. And the qualitative research is concerned with structures and patterns and how something is. And addition information, quantitative research is used to test or confirm the theories, assumption, or hypothesis, while qualitative research it used to understand the concepts, thoughts, or the experiences. So yeah, we move to the second section, introducing and explaining the basic concepts of quantitative research. So I have the basic concept of quantitative research today. There are research problem, research question, variable, hypothesis, population sample, sampling, the data, the instrumentation, validity, and reliability. So yeah, this basic concept I'm going to explain one by one. The first one, research problem. Research problem is defined as the focus of a research investigation. It means that you have your focus problem on your research investigation. The second is research question. Research question is a question that a research project sets out to investigate, to observe, or answer. A good research question must be focused, researchable, visible, specific, complex, and relevant. And this is the example of research question that I have. What effect does daily use of Twitter have on the attention span of people in the age of group 16 to 20? A good research question must be focused. What I mean focus here is the research question must be focuses on single problem. Here I have a Twitter effect on the attention span in the age 16 to 20. A good research question must be researchable, means that the answer of your question can be found, can be done, and can be answered with by collecting the empirical data. And then a good research question must be specific. It means that all the terms that you use in the research question should have clear meanings. As you can see, instead of using often, the word often, I use daily. And then instead of using the teenager or the adolescents, I use the specific age group. There is 16 to 20. And then a good research question must be complex. The research question should be complex enough. If your research question be answered with yes or no or easily found the facts, then it is not complex enough. And the last, a good research question must be relevant. Here I have a social media. You know, social media is pretty much popular in our surroundings. So the social media is definitely relevant into the society. And the third, variable. Variable is a characteristic of an individual or group that is measurable. And then the variable must be vary. So yeah, this is the three most common types of variable. The first one, independent or manipulated variable. That is the variable that affect or are the cause of changes of dependent variable. And the second, dependent or response variable. This is the outcomes that depend on the independent variables. And the last, control variable, variables that are controlled or made constant so that the influence of independent and dependent variables are not influenced by external factors that are not studied. This is the example of those types of variables. Here I have the question, does red light affect plant growth? And the independent variable is the light color. Here I have red. And then in the dependent variable is the plant height. And the control variable, it can be the type of plant, the pot size, or the amount of water, or maybe the sun exposure. So yeah, this is the hypothesis. Hypothesis is used in research, refers to a prediction of result usually made before a study commences. Or it's kind of a temporary scientific assumption. So yeah, I have two types of hypothesis. The first one, directional hypothesis and non-directional hypothesis. Directional hypothesis is a prediction about the specific nature of a relationship. It means that you already predict the direction of your research. The example, learning method A is more effective than learning method B. You already predict which learning method that will be more effective. While non-directional hypothesis is a prediction that relationship exists without specifying its exact nature. The example here, there will be a distinction between learning method A and method B. The example is clear that you're not specifying which learning method that will be more effective. While in directional hypothesis, you already specifying which method or which variable that will be more effective. The other example, like variable A correlates positively or correlates negatively with variable B. It's the example of directional hypothesis. It's already predict the correlates, it may be positively or negatively. While in non-directional hypothesis, it can be variable A correlates with variable B. That's it. So yeah, the most common disadvantage of hypothesis is researcher's bias. So as a researcher, you have to make sure that you are honest and natural. So yeah, try to become natural as much as possible. And then the population. Population is all the members of a particular group. It can be the group of interest to the researcher or the group to whom the researcher would like to generalize the result of the study. Here, I take the example of UNESA students. So yeah, while the population is all the member of particular group, the sample is any part of population of individuals on whom information is obtained. Here I have English department students. English department student is the part of UNESA students. Different with a sample, sampling is the process. The process of selecting the individuals who will participate, who will be investigated, who will be observed in a research study. It can be random sampling or not random sampling. So yeah, the example of non-random sampling, you choose or you like this. All English department students can be your participants because it's random in age, random in gender, and random in anything. So while the non-random sampling, you choose a certain gender, it can be only females or only males. Only the age around 20 to 25 or something like that. Because of the quantitative research is to generalize the result of findings, random sampling is more recommended because it's random participant that will be participate on your research. And the next is data. Data is the information. It's the kind of information researchers obtain on the subject of their research. So the question is, how do we obtain the data? The answer is by using instruments or tools. And the entire process of collecting the data in research investigation called instrumentation. There are three techniques to construct the instruments. The first one self-constructed, the second adopted, and the third adapted. What is different? Self-constructed means that you make your own instrument. It's perhaps only happen to an expert. While the adopted, it means that you use the instrument which have been constructed or tested by the previous studies or previous researchers, and you use the whole instrument in your research. While the adapted, you might use the instrument that already tested, but you might change or modify the instrument. Here the most common types of instrument like tests, assessments, questionnaires, flowcharts, and performance checklists, and etc. So yeah, this is the very important point, validity and reliability. The qualitative research must be valid and reliable. Validity is defined as the extent to which a concept is accurately measured in a quantitative study, while reliability refers to our measure repeatedly delivering the same result. Ideally, if we use the same measure with the same people under the same conditions, our measure should give us the same result. If the result quite different, it means that your result is not reliable. This is the example of validity and reliability. There is an alarm that rings at 7 a.m. each morning, but the alarm exactly set for 6:30. It is very reliable because the alarm rings consistently in the same time each day, but it is not valid. Why? Because the alarm sets for 6:30 but rings at 7 each morning. So it is important to consider validity and reliability of the data collection tools when they're conducting research. So yeah, we move to the frameworks of quantitative research. The quantitative research design also known as frameworks is divided into experimental and descriptive non-experimental. Experimental subdivided into true experimental and quasi-experimental, while descriptive non-experimental divided again into according to purpose and according to time dimension. According to purpose have survey research and correlational research, while according to time dimension have cross-sectional research and longitudinal research. So yeah, what is the difference and the similarities between two experimental and quasi-experimental? So yeah, this is the similarities. The similarities first. Both of them aim to determine the causal relationship among variables, and the intervention is always present in this experiment and always conducted in controlling setting, and there is variable manipulation in this experiment. How about the differences between true experimental and quasi-experimental? True experimental have random sampling, while quasi-experimental have non-random sampling. Through experimental, it may be conducted with or without pretest, but quasi-experimental involves pretest and post-test. And then in true experimental, it always involves a control group and a test group or experimental group, while in the quasi-experimental, there is no control group. We move to the non-experimental according to purpose. There are survey research and correlational research. Survey research is done with gather evidence on people's knowledge, opinions, attitudes, values on various issues and concerns. And then it makes use of questionnaires, interviews, and surveys to get the data. And the variables in survey research are not controlled or manipulated, and there is no intervention is applied. So how about the correlational research? It seeks to interpret the degree of relationship between two or more variables using statistical data, and there is no intervention is applied, and the variable also not controlled or manipulated, and it does not aim to determine the cause and effect relationship. So this is the non-experimental according to time dimension. There are cross-sectional research and longitudinal research. The similarities, both of them observational, and both of them also compare the data. There is no intervention on them, and there is no variable manipulation in this research. Cross-sectional research, same set of variables with other variables of interest, while longitudinal research have some variable with the same subject. In cross-sectional research, the data is collected at a single period in time, while the longitudinal research data is collected multiple times. It's several times to collect the data. And cross-sectional research takes a relatively short amount of time to finish. In longitudinal research, it may take a long time before completion. So you can find the differences and the similarities in this research. So yeah, this is the brief differentiation of experimental and non-experimental. Experimental involves manipulation of variables, and intervention is always present, while non-experimental, there is no manipulation of variables and the intervention is not present. Because this is the quantitative research design, the similarities of experimental and non-experimental is it involves the numeric data and statistics because it always deals with the numeric data, charts, graph, and so on. So yeah, this is the last section of today, the issues of the quantitative research. So yeah, this is the issues of using the questionnaire. The first one, how many questions should be included in the questionnaire? Okay, the less experienced researcher might confuse how much questions should I put on my questionnaire, something like that. So first of all, you have to think carefully when pressing a question, when formulating a question in your questionnaire. The question should be give you enough information that you need, not what you want. It may take some time to formulate the best question in your questionnaire, but it's okay because once a questionnaire that is already in the hand of your respondent on your participants, and the questionnaire cannot be changed. So you have to think carefully and make the best question in your questionnaire. The second point, using any technical terminology or jargon as there is a substantial risk that respondents do not understand them. It's common in several questions in the particular questionnaire. There is jargon that the respondent unfamiliar with or do not understand with that terms. So avoid to use any terms, words, or phrases, or maybe jargons that might your respondent unfamiliar with or do not understand. So use the words or the terms that more general that everybody knows. Okay. The third issues is sometimes the questions are phrased in such a way that they imply a particular answer, and other questionnaires avoid questions which bear the potential of eliciting an unwanted response altogether. So, as I already mentioned in the previous slide, that one of the disadvantages of formulating hypothesis is researcher bias. So, in this case, some researcher might be pressing or formulating a question in their questionnaire with a particular question that might be lead into any particular answer or response that the researcher want to get. For example, is the example like this. Don't you think that a learning method A is more effective? Don't you think that learning method A is easily to use in a daily activities like that? So this kind of a question can lead into bias. So you have to carefully to make a question in your questionnaire. So yeah, that's all that I can say in this presentation. If I do a mistake or there is a wrong information during my presentation, I will be happy to receive your critics and feedbacks on the comment section below. And if you have anything to ask, let me know, and see you on my video. And thank you.